my August wrap up. I had a very good reading month in August. As you may know, if you watched my TBR video, I was participating in ARC August, which was a readathon that was started by a couple of book bloggers who are no longer book blogging, but someone did actually tell me that other people are hosting another version of ARC August now. I didn't find out until like later on in the month, so I didn't realise that was the case, but I think that's quite fun. It's nice to see that this idea or readathon is still ongoing. I've managed to read 4 whole books for ARC August, and I'm in the middle of 3 more. So I'm actually recording this on the 25th of August because I'm going away at the end of this week, and so I am recording this video quite early. I'm hoping, fingers crossed, that I'll be able to finish all 3 of those books, and then I will have read 7 books for ARC August and then a couple of other books for the reading month as well. So I want to talk to you about the books that I've read so far in August, the ones that I'm going to finish off this week, and I will give you my ratings on all of them. The first one I want to start with isn't an ARC August book at all. This was just picked up on a whim. So that one is DIREBOUND. This is, or was, a self-published romantasy book, and it has since been picked up by a publisher, but I can't remember when the traditionally published version is coming out. This is the self-published version that I picked up, again, on a whim. I think I heard some people talk about it on YouTube. They said it was really popular on TikTok, and I'm not actually on TikTok, so I hadn't heard anything about this book, but people were comparing it to Fourth Wing, but with direwolves, and that sounded very exciting to me, so I went ahead and purchased a self-published copy. That same day, I found out that it was being picked up by a big publisher, so that was really good timing on my part. So this follows a woman called Merrin, who is a pit fighter. She lives in the slums in her city with her mother, who is dealing with a mental illness. She seems to have some sort of like dementia or schizophrenia. Fantasy world, so it doesn't have those names, but like she's losing her memories and she becomes like kind of not herself. She also lives with her sister, who is school age, and Merrin feels very responsible for looking after the both of them because her father died while he was at war. Merrin lives in a northern kingdom which is at war with the southern kingdom, and the north fight with direwolves. The soldiers bond with a direwolf and they go to the front and fight the vampires. The southern kingdom is full of vampires. So this war started like 500 years ago. It's been going on for ages. No one ever seems to be winning. And as I said, Merrin feels very responsible for looking after her family, except one day her sister is stolen. She is taken away by people that they call the nabbers. And so Merrin joins the army to bond with a direwolf and then go to the front because she thinks the nabbers have taken her sister to the front. And so it turns into a kind of military training fantasy. I don't really think the focus was really on the military training itself. It was more on the trials or like exams kind of that the characters had to go through. There is a romance right from the start of this book between Merrin and a guy called Lee. Lee was blonde, let me just put it out there. So he was not my favourite love interest, to be honest, but the more I read throughout the book, the more I kind of liked him. If you've read the book, you might be questioning that a bit because there's also another character who is clearly going to be another love interest. It's going to turn into a love triangle. His name is Stark, and he's already part of the king's army. He's already bonded with a direwolf. He was one of the youngest to ever bond and join the army and succeed. His mum is like a massive deal, kind of like Violet's mum in Fourth Wing. She's a really important general, so to speak. So Stark is obviously going to be another love interest, but in this one, there was no like kissing or anything. It was very, very slow burn, which I really appreciated, and that kind of means that I like both of the romances right now. I'm looking forward to seeing what happens between Merrin and Stark in the second book. I didn't love this one. I gave it 3 stars, but that doesn't mean that I'm not going to carry on with the series. I did find part of this very kind of generic and cliche. Some of the twists were just like, as I said, cliche. They happen in so many fantasy books. I feel like the authors kind of shoved in as many things as they could. There's a who did this to you moment, which was kind of brushed over. It feels like the authors only put it in there because, you know, that's a moment to have in romantasy. So that was a little bit disappointing because that is my favourite trope, and now they can't do it later on in the series unless they get repetitive. I really liked the character interactions in this one. I liked Merrin's interactions with her direwolf, Anassa. There were lots of secrets being kept and no one really told Merrin anything, but at the same time she didn't really try to seek out information for herself for the most part, and that really frustrated me because every time there was a twist I was able to see it coming, or at least like, you know, sort of try to guess what was going on, but Merrin was just like clueless the entire time. I was reading this on my Kobo as well, and I was annotating parts like, oh my god, she is thick, and not the good kind of thick either. So it was a little bit disappointing. I felt like the world building could have been very interesting, but again, very generic. So this was a very middle of the road book for me, but it was enjoyable, and I will be reading the sequel, and I'll be recapping this one maybe on my YouTube channel. Let me know if you want a recap of this one, but if not, I will definitely be recapping it on my website, Recaptains. Another book that I read that wasn't part of ARC August, but it is a sneak peek into my Reading My Bookshelf Zero TBR challenge, and that is Calamity. This is a sci-fi romance book, heavy on the romance. This follows a woman called Temperance, who, through circumstances, she becomes the captain of a ship. She and her crew are hired to go on a scouting mission to this planet by a rich family, and the son of the kind of head of this rich family goes with them, and this turns into like an enemies or hate to love romance situation. I found this to be very meh. I gave it 2 stars. I really didn't have a great time with this. I thought that the concept was very interesting, but the main character, she first of all fell in love like way too quickly for me both times that she falls in love. In the first couple of chapters, she's got a boyfriend, and it's just like, why do you like this guy? Once she meets this rich son, she's also like immediately obsessed with him. Like, she's looking at his abs and thinking how hot he is. It's like, you're on a mission, you're being paid to go to this planet, can you just like call it a bit and do your job? That's just something that really annoys me in various different genres as well, to be honest. It happens in like TV shows and stuff as well, when they kiss too quickly, or like in the middle of a really difficult situation or action scene. I'm like, no, hold it together, you've got a job to do. So yeah, I was a bit disappointed in this one, or very disappointed, because I thought this would be a really good trilogy to get into, but I'm not going to carry on with the series. I didn't love it as much. So that was your sneak peek into my next Zero TBR vlog. And then the next few books are all ARC August reads. So the first one I have here is The Golden Spoon. This one isn't technically for ARC August. I made a mistake. I thought I had this one as an ARC, but I didn't. So I read it because I already had it on my shelf, but it turns out I didn't have it through Netgalley. That's a bit frustrating, because it didn't count towards my Netgalley percentage, but that's okay. So this is called The Golden Spoon. I can't remember if I just said that. This is a contemporary mystery book. It's based around the Great British Bake Off, but they're not allowed to say that, and it follows a baking competition. So each day the contestants have to battle it out, bake something, and then each day someone goes home. At the beginning of the book, you know that there is a murder, and then it goes back in time to show you the build-up. And there are various other things going on as well. All of the contestants are living in this mansion for the week with the host. It's like the TV show host's own mansion. She owns it, but she rents it out to the TV show to make some money. And you're following each contestant as they go through the week, and people start getting picked off and dying. So I did really enjoy this one. I gave it 4 stars. It accomplished exactly what it set out to do. It was over the top in parts. It was ridiculous. The food parts were very, very good, made me very, very hungry. As always with these kinds of books with multiple points of view, I didn't really feel all that connected to any of the characters. I did find some of their storylines very interesting, others not so much. I feel like there are like 2 contestants in particular who you're really supposed to care about, and then the others are sort of like supporting. This was a really fun one. I think what put me off of giving it 5 stars was it just didn't have that feeling, but also it has the cliche like villain speech at the end, and that works really well. It did actually work in this book, but it's just not my favourite thing. So yeah, I didn't give it 5 stars, but I gave it 4. It was still very good. I also gave 4 stars to Beasts of Prey, and this one was an ARC August book, and it did count towards my Netgalley percentage. This is a YA fantasy book. It follows a teenage girl called Coffee who lives in a magical zoo with her mother, and she and her mother have to perform with the animals to make the zookeeper money, or the owner of the zoo money. It's basically like a circus situation. And then there's also a guy called Ekon, and we get his point of view as well, and he's basically a soldier. And the 2 of them live in the same city. As I said, Coffee lives in this zoo. One night she accidentally sets fire to the zoo and everything goes wrong, and the 2 of them have to team up for various reasons to go and hunt this beast in the jungle. And so a lot of the book is kind of them traveling through the jungle and figuring out like beastie secrets and about this mysterious animal and legend and stuff. And it is very interesting. I did find this very predictable as well, and it did take them ages to actually get to the jungle, and that was the part that was most interesting because I really like the whole magical animals kind of thing. So it did drag a little bit for me, and it was a little bit long. I did again find it very predictable. Certain things were revealed that, you know, I could have guessed, or I did guess like really early on. So that was a bit disappointing, but overall this is a very good book. I gave it 4 stars. It's probably not a series that I will carry on with just because I don't really feel drawn to either of the characters. But if you like YA fantasy and you would like to read about African-inspired mythology, I would recommend this one. The author said in her author's note that this isn't inspired by any kind of mythology in particular, for the most part. Some of the creatures are, but the myths and legends in this book themselves, she didn't feel comfortable kind of drawing from any particular folklore because she doesn't know if it's her own culture, so she didn't really want to do that. So most of this is like fresh new world building, which I found very, very interesting. I really enjoyed reading her author's note actually. So I gave this one 4 stars. I did really enjoy it. So next I read All Good People Here by Ashley Flowers, and this is one that I kind of want to do a full review on because I have some discussion points I think that I would like to talk through, and I feel like a full review would help me work through my thoughts. So basically this book is about a woman called Margot who is a journalist, and when Margot was, I think, like 6 years old, her friend January was killed. She went missing and then she was killed, and her body was found in a ditch. Margot then grew up, became a journalist, moved out of town, and now at the beginning of the book she is moving back to her hometown to live with her uncle Luke, who basically raised her because her parents are useless. Uncle Luke has dementia, early onset dementia. He's only 50 and he is suffering quite a lot from the symptoms of dementia. So Margot has gone back to live with him to help out a bit, and she is able to work remotely with her job, so it all works out fine. Except it's not really fine because she's not doing a great job. As it is, she's taking ages to kind of put any kind of reporting together, and her bosses are really kind of badgering her for just something. After a couple of days of being back in her hometown, another child goes missing, and this kind of kicks off a whole chain of events. Margot starts linking it to the January case, and I think other people are telling her to just like kind of chill, because just because children go missing from the same area doesn't mean it's the same person. It doesn't mean that serial killer is back or something. So this unlocks a whole lot of drama, a whole lot of mystery. We jump back in time to see other points of view, and we stick it to the present day, and that's mainly following Margot. And there are various different mysteries in there, and I think the thing that I am conflicted about, because I did enjoy this book, I think I want to give it 4.5 stars because I thought it was fantastic, but I have conflicting emotions, or like morals, I guess, because this book was quite obviously, or the crime in this book was quite obviously based on a real life case. I think if you read about true crime cases, then you are 100% going to know what this case is as soon as you start reading some of the details in this book. I feel like a lot of readers of this book will be into true crime because the author is actually a true crime podcaster. That's where it doesn't really sit well with me. Like, there are coincidences, but because the author is a podcaster who focuses on true crime, she has 100% heard of this real life case and she knows the details, and she has put those details in this book, like even things like the basement window being smashed, that's in here. I feel like this, or the outcome of this book, also shows what the author, or how the author feels about the real life case, and she's kind of putting her own sort of theories across on that case via this book. And it's kind of like a whole tangled web of strangeness to me. I don't think that the author should be making a profit off of this particular case, or any case really, but obviously she's a podcaster, so it is kind of her job. But at the same time, this is a fiction book and she should be having, you know, unique original ideas, and that's not what this is. While I was looking into this as well, I just wanted to read a bit more about the author because I've never actually listened to her podcast, and I did see that she was accused of plagiarism. I don't know whether that was true or if it was accurate or not. I'm not getting involved in that, but it did make me think, like, does she ever have an original idea? And I am a bit disappointed because I did really enjoy the writing and the pace of this book. I did think it was very good. It's just I don't think the concept itself was handled in an appropriate way. I think the author should have tried a lot harder to separate her idea from the real life case that this is clearly based on, because it's obvious that people are going to pick up on it. I don't know if it's meant to be like an homage or something to the case, but I don't like that either. So yeah, maybe I will do a video review on this to kind of discuss my thoughts. If you've read this book, let me know what you think in the comments down below. I do want to read her next book, which came out this summer, I think, maybe like May. Can't remember what it's called, but I'm interested to see if that is also based on a real life case, or if you, like, the reader can make any connections, or if this is a more fresh original idea, because I do think if the second book is another like copy and paste from a real life case, then this author has problems, but maybe it's okay. I just couldn't believe, as I was reading, how close this fictional case was to the real life one. I couldn't believe that she wrote a whole book about that and just changed like minor details. It was really quite disappointing and quite shocking as well. And I don't know, maybe it says a lot about me that I do know the case that well, the real life case, and I was able to make these connections. But again, most of her readers, or a lot of her readers, will have been true crime podcast listeners or fans of hers who have been following her career. So I think a lot of readers would have picked up on this. And if you're not a fan, like I'm not, even if you don't know loads about true crime, or you're not like in the true crime like community, you've probably heard of this case. It's all over the internet. So yeah, some conflicting feelings about this one. I do think a lot of people, this is a separate note, but I think a lot of people have problems with the ending of this because it doesn't just like end very abruptly and there's no sort of closure, and the reader is left to kind of decide how they feel that this book really ended or what happened to the characters. So that's a bit frustrating, but I didn't mind it. I thought it was fun. I wouldn't like it if every book that I read did that, but it was okay in this one. So yeah, those are my conflicting thoughts about All Good People here. Really good book. I think it's well written personally, but the real life stuff, like, I'm not really sure how I should feel about that. So yeah, tell me in the comments what you think. Those are all the books that I finished, and then I'm also in the middle of 3 more for ARC August that I'm hoping to finish this week. I think I can do at least 2 of them, one of them maybe today. So the first one is The Phoenix King. This is a fantasy book. It's very political, it's political fantasy. And this one follows a woman called Elena who is the heir to the throne. Her father has been kind of protecting her ever since her mother died, but Elena knows that she will be required to take the throne soon because her father is going to step down. So she is a bit disappointed in her dad for not really preparing her as well as he could. There's also a guy who has been hired by the king, and his name is Yasen, and he is Elena's bodyguard, and so it's kind of going to be a bodyguard romance. I think I'm roughly, I think like 100 pages into this. I think I'm about here, and it's very slow paced at the moment. It's very heavily political, and the author is taking a lot of time on the world building. I am very interested in it. I like a good prophecy, I like some political fantasy. Obviously I love a fantasy romance as well, so I would like to carry on with this. I just hope it starts to pick up speed a bit soon, because I feel like the political stuff and the world building could have been woven in a little bit better to keep the action going. It does say that it's action packed on the back, but I wouldn't really say that's the case so far, but maybe it will pick up soon. So I'm hoping to finish this week. I'm also in the middle of A Witch's Guide to Magical Innkeeping. This is Sangu Mandana's second witchy book, and I started this a while ago on my Kobo, but I wanted to read a physical version. I just felt like it would work better for me as a physical version. Some books are just like that, I think, and so I requested it from the library. So I'm currently 65 pages into this book, and I think I'm going to finish it today, to be honest. It's 300 pages, it shouldn't take me long at all. This follows a woman called Sarah who was said to be the most powerful witch of the generation, or of the modern era, and she uses up all of her powers to restore the life of her great aunt who dies in the garden. And this isn't really like a typical spell for a witch. She shouldn't be doing that, and for some reason her powers get drained and she doesn't get them back. She also gets kicked out of the Witches Guild for misusing her powers, even though she was only a child at the time. So now she is running this inn with her great aunt, and it kind of welcomes in a bunch of outsiders or people who need it. The inn is kind of there for them. She's also looking after her little cousin Theo, who goes ahead and steals a magical book for Sarah, because in this book there's meant to be a spell that can restore Sarah's powers, and so I think this book is going to be about navigating how to do that, if she wants to be back in the guild or not, maybe getting in touch with an old friend, the one who dobbed her in, and then there's also meant to be a love interest called Luke showing up as well, and I've just met him now on page like 64 where I've left off. So I'm going to carry on with this. I hope I like it. I loved this author's first witchy book, so I'm hoping this is going to be a good one as well. And then finally, the last arc that I'm hoping to finish this week is What the River Knows. This is a YA book based in Egypt. It's based around Egyptian mythology. It's a historical book, and it's about main character whose name I cannot remember. She travels from her family home where she is living with her aunts and cousins in Argentina. She travels by boat to Egypt because her parents have gone missing in Egypt, and they're declared dead, but they're probably not dead, let's be honest. I think I'm about 15% of the way through, and currently there's a lot of stuff about magical artifacts and Egyptian mythology and how artifacts can hold power. And there's also a really annoying guy that I think is going to be the love interest who isn't getting on very well with the main character. So I think it's going to be like an enemies to lovers kind of thing. I'm really enjoying this one so far. I'm really enjoying the historical setting. It's well written and fast paced, so I think I'm going to finish that this week as well. So those are all the books that I read or am hoping to read in August. It was a really good reading month. As I said, I read some really good books, and it's been really nice to whack some books off my Netgalley TBR. I hope to continue with some ARC reading throughout the next few months, but I'm thinking maybe I could focus again on ARCs in November and do like Netgalley November. I've written reviews for most of these, barring a couple, and my Netgalley percentage has gone up by 2%. So it's increasing, that's very good. I did accept another ARC that a publisher messaged me about because I didn't want them to think I was ungrateful when they were emailing me and offering me an e-ARC of a book by one of my favourite authors. I did feel a bit silly accepting it because the book is literally out this week. You know, as I said, I didn't want them to think I'm ungrateful, and I don't want ARCs ever again. That's not the case. So I accepted this one because it was one of my most anticipated books of the year, and I'm hoping to maybe fit it in this week. I'll just tell you what it is. It's Forget Me Not by Stacey Willingham. It's coming out on Tuesday, so tomorrow as I'm recording this. I don't know when you're seeing this video. It's already out certainly by the time you're watching this. I'm hoping to maybe read this during my travel day to Italy. Maybe, we'll see. Thank you guys so much for watching. Let me know how your August reading went in the comments down below. I'll be back soon with another video. Bye.